The Rap Roundtable.
Yes, sir. The Rap Roundtable is back with another installment of Monday Night Raw. It's your boy Jarve here alongside the Rap Snob.
What up, what up?
No Deanie tonight. Deanie's dealing with some personal things. But we
About to say, Dini look different.
right?
What's going on?
Bailey will feel some type of way. But we do a very special guest, one of my homies, EJ Stewart. He's joining our lunch table to talk some shit. You know what I mean? That's what we do here on a Monday night. So feel free to treat EJ the same way that you treat us here at the Rap Roundtable. You know, a little bit of respect.
Hold on.
Nah, he got to get what we got.
We got company. We got company. Respect the company, bro. You know us. You don't know him.
We got company. I want the same energy.
Listen. Ray's been. I've been fortunate to have Ray produce some of the shows I've hosted on the radio, and he knows my mantra for the second rule of any show I'm on is I'm ducking no smoke. So whatever y'all got for me, I'm all good. It's all game. Like I'm ready.
There you go. Let's go. There you go. As always, we need at least 400 likes on each and every video. Hit the subscribe option. We are at 20,000.9 right now, 20.9K subs. We're trying to get to 21K as soon as we can. So run the likes up, hit the subscribe option, hit the notification bell, continue to run those numbers up. For anyone asking, where's Macito? He's having a technical issue. Macito will be with us shortly. I see T Blacks already in the chat mad that we late. We keep telling y'all every Monday, the time is approximation. It's not a literal time. It's an approximation of a time frame where we will show up at. It's like back in the day when you would take the MTA, and you knew if you pulled up to the train station around 3:45, between 3:45 and 3:54, there will be a 3 train or whatever train pulling in to get you. Just call my tape. We here now. Fellas, how was y'all weekend, man?
Not bad. You know what I mean? Weather's fucking with us right now, but you know, trying to enjoy like the little sliver of the good weather. I was so tight. I had to work on Saturday. They lied to me. They told me it was gonna be summer. But they didn't tell me it wasn't going to be summer all day. It was only going to be summer for like a quarter of the day. Right. So I got out of work, and it was brick, and I was tight. And then it started raining too. I was so upset, man. I was ready to go hang out, grab a drink somewhere. I went the fuck home, man. I was upset.
What about you?
That summer was like a 4-hour summer. That wasn't a full day summer. That was like a half day summer. It was good, man. I was traveling. My brother's birthday over the weekend, so I was in PA for a little bit. So a great weekend covering sports, covering hip hop. You know how it goes.
How was that career day? I saw one of the days that I had to fill in for you about a week and a half ago. I saw you was doing like a career day setup. What was that like?
That was crazy. Yeah. So anybody knows I'm from Queens, from Bayside, Queens, and
Queens get the money.
Exactly. So the elementary school that I went to, they've seen the stuff I've been doing at WFAN, stuff at Infinity Sports Network. So they were like, "Hey, we really would like to have you come to career day and talk to the elementary school kids." What I keep telling people is the craziest thing I've found out is soccer is the future. Because as a sports commentator, someone going to classes, you would think people want to talk about, like basketball, football, baseball. I'm asking kids, what your favorite sport is. They're all naming soccer teams. They're naming countries. They're naming individual clubs. They're naming soccer players I'm not even as familiar with. And I'm a very casual soccer fan. So I don't know if this is a New York City thing. I don't know if this is an overall thing, but I know definitely here with the influx probably of a lot of immigrants and a lot of people from different backgrounds, soccer is the future. But that was a great honor, obviously. And they told me that hopefully at some point later this year I may be inducted into their Sports Hall of Fame. So excited about that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. T Blacks, we here now though. So don't keep complaining. You know what I mean? Don't drag the complaints now. You know what I mean?
Complain when we already here?
Because T Blacks know I'll drag it for the rest of this episode on principle alone. But anyway, speaking of this weather, I was out in the midst of it, trying to get my park on. I'm with Avery, you know what I'm saying? The little princess. We outside, you know what I'm saying? And I literally felt the 30-degree drop that they reported.
That's crazy, man.
In real time, as I got out the car, like, I kept checking my phone. The weather drop happened so fast, and my phone didn't update the temperature for another 15 minutes after the fact, bro. It was like, what's going on? I thought it was supposed to be nice out. By the time we walked from my car to the swings, bro, weather done. I'm like y'all didn't tell us this part. Y'all said 70 degrees, potential rain. Not like the day. What was that storm movie where it was like the day after tomorrow, or like when they had like 3 big cyclones and like the cold air will come through and just freeze people right away. That's what it was like. I'm like, what's this about?
The cold was literally chasing motherfuckers like a monster.
Oh, literally, that's what it was on Saturday. But anyway, we made it through. But sadly, the storm that we could not avoid was Kanye West linking up with DJ Akademiks.
Listen, Segway 101.
Yeah,
y'all getting a lesson out here, bro.
You know what I mean? I got company. I got to make sure I look good for EJ. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, but it's like, how does this happen? Like, I thought the interview wasn't happening. Then I saw a clip of Akademiks in the crib with Kanye with no, like, regular Ye. Ye had his black fit on. He has his face. I can see Kanye's face. Then I see another clip and he's in a black KKK robe. And I'm immediately lost and confused. I know a couple weeks ago I already said, fuck Kanye. I kicked his back in. But it's like, now I have to find a Timberland boot. I did it with sneakers on. I got to put on some Timbs and kick his back in.
How many times over the years have we already said fuck Kanye? Like over and over and over.
He keeps finding new ways for me to have to say fuck Kanye West. So EJ, we're going to allow you to bat lead off here. We know you saw what's going on with Ye in this interview. What are your immediate thoughts about this interview with Ak?
I mean, for me at this point, I can't even get upset at the situation anymore. Like I've exhausted all energy when it comes to Kanye. Like I feel like I've been done with Kanye, quite frankly, a lot earlier than most. Like as soon as he put on that red hat, it was over for me. I'm like, all right, that's all I need to hear, all I need to see. So that was a wrap for me. But at this point, I'm just waiting for really the entire hip hop fandom, the whole music community to be like, we're just done. Like we don't care. We don't care what you're doing. We don't see what you're doing. It's a shame because I feel like this is someone who inspired a lot of people. This is someone who I think people looked at as someone to look up to, despite some of the antics early in his career. We saw some of the narcissistic behavior, but I think people saw what he did as a musician, as a talent, and I think they were inspired by that. We hear that all the time from some of these artists. At this point, it's like there's nothing he can do that will outrage me anymore. I don't even pay attention to him. Like to me, like when you told me this happened, I was like, I had to look up what happened because I'm like, I saw Akademiks was maybe doing an interview, then he wasn't. Then he was like, well, I'm doing it, but I don't want to edit it. But then he did edit it. So I was like, these are two bozos that I really want nothing to do with, quite frankly.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gonna, just sit this one out. But I mean, at this point, there's nothing Kanye could say that would surprise me or outrage me. I was done with him 2016. Like it was years I've been done with this guy.
Yeah. It's been 9 years now. Sheesh.
It's crazy to say that. Oof. 9 years. It don't even feel like 9 years in my head.
I know. Yeah.
Because of just how College Dropout is the first full album I've ever listened to as a music fan. So that's how, because I was like 12, 13 probably when that came out. So it's crazy to think 9 years I've been without Kanye in my life on any real level. I haven't listened to an album, haven't given him any new stream. So like it's crazy, but it's just where I'm at this point. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm talking to you. This is your guy.
Stop doing that. It was my guy. A very long time ago. And I've kicked him off my lawn numerous times already. And he just somehow keeps landing on here. Listen, here's what's going on. We got two guys, right? One of them is doing everything humanly possible, everything in his power to be the shittiest fucking human being that he could possibly be right now. And I've never witnessed anyone go this far out of their way to prove how shitty they can be. You know what I mean? And I've seen many artists over the years. I've seen, rock artists, hip hop artists. Like there's been issues that I've had with certain hip hop artists because I just feel like they just want to be shitty for the sake of being shitty. And I'm looking at you, 50 Cent. Like I like music wise, 50 put out so many bangers. Get Rich or Die Trying, one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, a masterpiece. But as far as being a fan of him, I'm like, I can't get with his energy because he gets off on being shitty. You know what I mean? But this thing that Kanye is doing now, it's unprecedented. The levels of shittiness are unprecedented. You know what I mean? And then we got on the other side, Ak, who gets off on the shittiness. You know what I mean? He gets off on the controversy. He gets off on basically everything that Kanye is doing right now, that is Act's brand. You know what I mean? Sensationalism, controversy, and controversy just for the sake of controversy. You know what I mean? Not even controversy that sort of happens out of happenstance. Not even controversy because you said something you actually believe, but then people sort of take it the wrong way, or it's not a popular opinion, or whatever the case is. I mean, that happens, right? But now it feels that they're both merchants of just pure concentrated controversy, just for the sake of it. You know what I mean? And it's to the point now where it's like fuck both of these guys. You know what I mean? Fuck both of them. Forever and ever. I don't want to hear about them. I don't want to see. Like, I have not checked for Kanye's album that's supposedly leaked on the internet. You know what I mean? That more on that on episode 120. But you know what I mean? We talked slightly about it when we were shooting the episode. We talked about it with Walt, who's our engineer. Sup, Walt? I haven't even had the urge to check for it because it really is. I think I've honest to goodness finally gotten to the place where it's like, fuck this guy. I don't care how good the music. I don't care how good they say the music is that he puts out. I honestly don't care anymore. You know what I mean? I really don't. And as far as Act is concerned, I know that he's aligning with Kanye for two reasons. One, for the controversy, and two, because Kanye's saying fuck Kendrick. And that is now also Act's brand. So, you know what I mean? These are two peas in a shitty pod. I hope they have a beautiful, long-lasting life together. You know what I mean? Happily ever after to both of those bozos.
Yeesh, to say the raps now with an early lawn. You know what? I'm gonna have to start getting like a little app, the same app that I have on my phone. I'm gonna put it on my laptop. So anytime you kick people off your lawn, we can play the drop during the stream.
Yeah.
But
Word.
You made a point there that stood out to me about the controversy surrounding Akademiks as a person, as well as Kanye West as a person. And I think it's a situation of contrived controversy. Like as hip hop fans, we enjoy when the shit hits the fan. That's part of the experience, you know. I think what we enjoyed a lot with the Drake and the Kendrick beef was the fact that it's actually happening now. We had a few sparks, but it was a whole movement that hit the fan and it sprayed everywhere. When it's Kanye West, it's a situation of, all right, like he's shitting in his hand and then throwing it at the fan, as opposed to like things organically happening. I'm gonna just throw this right here and watch what it does. It's gonna go crazy.
Watch the chaos.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's my Kanye voice too. It's gonna go crazy. It's gonna go viral. You know what I mean? Send these tweets off, delete it, resend a different version and say I don't care. I'm evil. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when I look at it's just like, come on, bro. You know, Dre Seven's in the chat and he's like, oh, y'all don't get it and this and that, and y'all gotta listen to the interview. And y'all not even understanding it. Right. Like Kanye West can give me the winning lottery numbers right now. But the fact of the matter is the way he delivers his message now and all of the surrounding noise that comes with it, it makes me not want to listen to him. I don't care what the meaning of the hood is. You know, at the end of the day, when you throw the red hat on and you say slavery is a choice, in real time, maybe you could Pashar and say, yay, just yay, you know? But when these things start to add up, and then the things you wearing the Nazi, the swastika shirt in the street, and the things that you're tweeting about, my question to Kanye would be like, what is the end game here? Like, what are we doing all of this for? It's not as if an album sales. Like, what's the point? You know?
You know what's sad to me is I talk about this a lot with a lot of these guys, but to me, like, and especially you guys, I told you how much I love Kanye growing up. Like, Kanye was the coolest mother effer in the planet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, to me, like, I think it'd almost be different. It wouldn't be different, but I almost would feel a certain way if this was fly. There's nothing fly about anything he's done in 10 years. Nothing. Yeah. Not the music, not any of the antics. There's nothing cool or fly. Like when I was in high school, like you wanted to be Kanye West. I saw kids wearing the shutter shades because that's what you wanted to be. I don't know anybody who watches this guy today and says, oh, I want to be that guy. Like to me, I think what I love about hip hop is to me, like those guys are almost like superheroes to me. Like they're like, I'm a big Marvel fan. So I look at these guys as almost like fictional beings, and they could tell stories and they could be these outlandish characters, and they're almost above us as regular mortals, right? Like to me, Kanye, what was his superpower was being different and cool in his own way. He is not cool. There's nothing, again, fly about anything he does. And that's the saddest thing to me. If he was at least doing some fly shit, I would be like, all right, At least I can. Like, there's nothing. I don't gotta go back to the music. Nothing with the fashion. There's nothing I care about with Kanye anymore.
But I want to follow up on that because you touched on something very important. Like your memory. Okay, you said I think before, I don't know, but you said College Dropout was the first full length album you listened to.
Yeah,
full album front to back, right? So your introduction to Kanye West was he is the cool. He dictates the cool. You know what I mean? But before that, he was a fucking nerd. You know what I mean? Like when Kanye came into the game, he was able to dictate or redefine what was cool now. And I think he got addicted to that contrarianism where he said, all right, everybody else is doing this. I'm going to go the opposite way, and I'm going to make it cool because I say so and because my music is going to be fire. You know what I mean? And that kind of worked for him for a really long time. You know what I mean? He was always spearheading new fashion trends because he was always ahead of the curve because he was that guy who dictated what cool was. You know what I mean? At a certain point, though, everybody falls off. Everybody falls off.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Kanye in his head can, you know what I mean? I don't think he can wrap his head. I don't think he can reconcile with the fact that it's not his time anymore. And so he keeps trying these antics to go against the grain, counterculture, go the opposite of where everybody else, to the point where he's gone so opposite, he's wearing a fucking swastika on his shirt. That's how opposite he wants to go. You know what I mean? Because in his head, that's what always worked for him to dictate and define what was cool. And you know what I mean? He fell the fuck off. It happens to everybody. But the thing is that when you have the ego that Kanye had, you know what I mean? Everybody has an ego. And when they fall off, like it bruises that ego. But when you had the ego the size of the ego that Kanye had, this is the other side of that spectrum. This is the end result. When you fall off, that ego is gonna go haywire, and it's not gonna know what the fuck to do with itself. And now we're seeing all of these different crash outs, all of these shenanigans, all of this, contrived controversy. To what Jarv said, because he doesn't know what else to do. This is all he knows how to do at this point.
I don't know about that, Sim, because not knowing what to do in this climate, bro. All you got to do is make some fire raps, some hard beats. You don't got to do the extras. All the other elites out here, prior to what last year was, every other top rap act you could think of, they didn't have to do this. They put their records out. They galvanized their fan base. They did a couple of visuals. They sat down with the top podcasts in the world, whoever that might have been at the time, did an interview for the rollout. Maybe you stop by Charlemagne, do the Breakfast Club, and you go chill out. Doing all this extra stuff, like, what do you get it for? And it's just like, all right, first it was the meds. No, first it was his mom's. Now it's the meds. Now he's autistic. Like, my man, like, bro, just drop the fucking music. That's it. We don't even want to hear from you anymore. Just drop the music, drop us the snippets, and let's cook with that. And, buy some equity with the music. How you putting out, for everything we've heard, you putting out fire music and losing equity on the opposite side of it every time you tweet or talk. Like, you're not even giving yourself a chance.
But here's my thing. And some people might take this the wrong way out there. But so do you think Kanye West would be happy being Nas right now? Nas?
No.
He would not. He would
wants to be Hov.
He wants, right. But you're asking him to be more of a Nas, like, all right, lay low, keep quiet, don't do no interviews, nothing, just put out dope music. Nas put out 6 fire-ass albums in a row over 3 years.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Kanye would not be happy just doing that without having the you know what I mean, the big show of it. You know what I mean? He needs the show, he needs the spotlight.
But you know what's crazy, Sin, is I feel like if he did do what Nas did, he would be so much bigger than Nas is now. Like, and I love Nas. Magic 1 is like one of my favorite albums of the last 5-10 years. So I love what Nas just did. But I think that's the issue with Kanye, is I think while all that, and I talked about all the other fly shit being a big part of who he was, but we still loved him for the music. I think deep down, a lot of this stuff is because he doesn't have the music. I think he doesn't have the sound for what people are looking for. I think that he has no choice but to do all this other stuff. If Kanye went on a 6-album run in 3 years, like with the quality of music Nas was doing, he'd be the biggest act besides Drake in hip hop. He's Kanye West. I don't think he's capable. Is my problem. That I again, like I talked about the red hat, but to me, like I'm one of those who hated Jesus. I tried.
Wow.
I tried.
EJ, thank you for coming on. EJ, it was a great conversation with you. You could just disconnect right now.
Sorry. I hated Jesus. I tried. This is from a diehard Kanye fan. So to me, I was like, oh, okay, this music is maybe slipping. We'll see. And then Life Pablo was okay. It was I thought much better. But like, I think we've seen a decline in this guy for a long time, and he knows it. Like, I'll tell you a quick story. I have a personal friend now who I do a podcast with. Shout out to my guy Lucas Goldman. Lucas shot one of Kanye's videos for this last project. He went the one where it's not even a video; it's like a long length movie, like a short movie with his kid. I don't know if you might have seen it. He's like his kid. I think his baby Saint is wrestling a bunch of like Japanese wrestlers while like a bunch of Kanye songs are playing in the background, and it's crazy. Like I met this guy kind of by happenstance. He shot the whole thing. He flew to Japan. Kanye apparently treated him very well, paid him, and all that stuff was great. The video was never going to come out, and then it leaked probably from Kanye, and then he eventually posted on his own platform. But he got taken down because he cleared nothing on video for his music. Nothing was cleared.
That's the other thing.
They got taken down. So it's like, to me, it's like he's not even putting in the work to be Kanye West. So that's why I'm like, this guy is not actually interested in doing this stuff.
Well, that situation right there, you guys are making very pertinent points. But then we have Dre 7 here, who I left on the screen, because it's like, when sometimes things hit the fan, the natural inclination for certain people is to be a contrarian. We saw that this morning, EJ. Someone has to be the opposite opinion in the room, and I can understand that. But you have to be a contrarian with their reason. And Dre 7 seems like he's on a mission today to be like, but again, he's acting like homie from Do the Right Thing, holding up the fucking book, but Kanye West. No, nigga. Listen. He says, for the record, the swastika was appropriated from the Indians in the symbol meant peace. Now let's be clear about this for a second, right? If Kanye West was like the quintessential do the knowledge personality, and he led with that, and then you would have dropped this in the chat, I would have ate crow. But Kanye West is the antithesis of doing the knowledge. In fact, he is a headline reader to me. He doesn't read any articles. He's LeBron James holding the book. He didn't read shit. He just holds the book. Okay? Are we going to act like he didn't say on Twitter, I love Hitler, I'm a Nazi? What are we doing here, Dre 7? And let's get into the music, though. This whole thing, honestly, and maybe is a reach for me. Mesito having some technical issues. I'm be trying to get him on in a second. He says to me, he said to us, pardon me, that he wants to get on this record with Kendrick Lamar last year, right? Don't worry, Kendrick, I got you. Remember?
Yeah.
Now you on this interview with Akademiks. I hope Akademiks had on comfortable shoes for all that standing he had to do. now he's a puppet for Lucian Grange. Which one is it, Kanye? Are you so mad that nobody wanted you to ruin this fun time we're having with your Kanye-isms? That now you're just fighting against everyone? Now I'm confused. Again, Kendrick is your man, Sid. Make it make sense for me.
I have a theory about this, and I think that because it is very confusing. Kanye first was excited about this idea of the elimination of Drake, as he put it. He was a supporter of Kendrick. Kendrick, I got you, as if, Kendrick needed it for anything. And now, a few months later, now Kendrick is the op, you know what I mean? And he's coming, I guess, to Drake's defense somehow. I don't know. We never know, because every other week, like, his stance changes, you know what I mean? Depending on what med he's taking, I guess. But I think the thing that's bothering him about Kendrick is that I think he was I'll start here. I think he was excited about the elimination of Drake because to him, you take Drake out of the picture and he gets to ascend back to the spot that he feels is rightfully his. You know what I mean? And that didn't happen. Kendrick took Drake out of the picture, and naturally, Kendrick took that spot. And now he's mad at Kendrick. And I think it burns him more that Kendrick is in that spot rather than Drake, because the same the same adjectives they were lobbying at Kanye, the same adulation they were lobbying at Kanye. You know what I mean? The amazing albums, the genius, the brilliance. You know what I mean? Nobody really talked about Drake that way ever. You know what I mean? He had the bops. You know what I mean? He had hits, but they never talked about genius. They never talked about brilliance. They never talked about classic albums. That's what they talk. That's how they talk about Kendrick. The way they used to talk about Kanye is how they're talking about Kendrick now, and he does not like that one bit. So I feel that that's really getting under his skin, and that's where he is right now with Kendrick.
I guess it. Like when did you know what it is? This is almost like when it comes to rap, I don't want to know too much, and I feel like the Lucian Grange and the curtain pulling and all of that. Look, I don't want to know that because then I get to thinking, like, is it a situation where y'all take a turn sitting on this man's lap? You was the golden child, now he's the golden child, now he's the golden child. Like, I don't want, you know what I mean? Like, I just want my rappers to be popping and make good music and do good interviews and do good visuals. Like, here, I understand that there's backroom politics involved in the rap game, in the music industry overall. I understand that. But it's just like, right now, for Ye, I think the best thing for him is just to be quiet. And I know he's incapable of it. Because to me, he has his whole thing, and we've seen it. You guys are the Kanye fans more so than I. He hates to be silenced. I think Kanye has this thing where he wants to be the loudest voice in the room. But I used to feel like when he was in his prime, in his heyday, he was a lot more calculated about when he would do certain things. Like, you go from being Kanye, seeing that rap is kind of losing its way, let me go drag it back in this opposite direction, or at least be a balance. Oh, like they're playing with us with Hurricane Katrina. Let's run on this stage and say George Bush don't care about black people, because that was pertinent in real time. Because as black people, we felt like we weren't cared about. As brown people, we felt like we weren't cared about. Someone of prominence needed to say that. But it's like now in 2025, you've lost your fastball. Like, you don't even know when to say what. And then the things you're saying, you're coming off ed. Like, to me, there's no bail for Kanye West, because it's just like, in a world where it has changed. The internet has dictated the terms of engagement. And you are constantly rage baiting as grown adults. Because to me, Kanye West is not for the kids. He could try to be as much as he wants. He could try to be capo, but he's here for adults. And if rage bait is your angle, rage bait with some facts littered in, who is this message for? Where's it gonna land? Like, you can't get sympathy if you keep slapping us in the face. Because Sin could tell you there's a few times that I tried to throw bail to Ye and say, well, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. But it's like, bro, at what point? Like, at a certain point, even his team, everybody who stood next to Ye has gradually moved away. Pusha T at one point was a man on the island with Ye. Even he had to move away.
Yeah.
Like, at what point do we start holding Kanye West accountable for doing things that's just crazy? If the three of us is outside and EJ start wilding, the first few times that we get to a fisticuff situation, we fighting with EJ. But by a year of us fighting with EJ because he getting it popping, we like, yo, bro, you can't come with us anymore. You got to stay home. We don't want to fight no more, because every time we go out, you get drunk and we end up fighting. And stay home, And that's the problem. Maybe EJ, and maybe this is hypothetical. Maybe EJ does have an issue. Maybe he does need to seek help. But we got punched on mad times. What are we supposed to do here? What are we supposed to do? You know what I mean? I was trying to buy some time for Mace, but he said that he messed up his phone screen. He hit me from another line. Whenever he hops on, we'll circle back and get his opinion on it. But one thing that we got to talk about real quick, and while y'all in here, we see it be hovering around 300 live viewers right now. Everybody hit the like button right now. Run the likes up. Again, as always, 400 plus likes on each and every video. Hit the like button. Keeps us in the algorithm. Keeps feeding it to the people who needs to see this kind of content. Shout out to the homie EJ for pulling in with us today. He's wearing big shoes. He's filling in for both Macito and Didi now. You know what I mean? Doing a hell of a job at that.
Didn't expect I'd be filling in for two of the great hosts of this show. But having fun, man. You guys are awesome.
But March 31st, you know, it will be ridiculous of us if we don't hail up Nipsey Hussle, R.I.P. Nip. You know, I feel, yeah, you did right in the background.
Yeah, there you go.
I remember our first year doing the pod was when Nipsey passed away, and we were excited about the direction that Nip was taking this thing. You know, I guess I'll ask and say it, and each of you can follow. Considering the revival that the West Coast has had, then follow that right with the law swooping in and doing what they did. What do you think that? What do you think Nip would have landed in this quote New West? Since I'll start with you.
Oh man, Nip. Woo. He would have been. I think he would have been toe to toe with Kendrick. He would have been toe to toe with him. You know what I mean? Because it's hard. You know what I mean? As a Kendrick fan, and seeing not just as a Kendrick fan, but seeing how seeing everything Kendrick has done in the last year, it's tough to say that Nipsey would have been at that level with him. But man, like Nipsey had the streets, man. Like he really had the streets. Like whenever Kendrick would go, into a left field lane and kind of lose the streets, Nipsey always had the streets, man. And I don't think Nipsey would have ever made any music that the streets wouldn't have fucked with. You know what I mean? And that would have been like I think a very important cultural anchor for the West. Had he stuck around, man. If they would have had Kendrick and Nip 1 and 2 in the West, would have been crazy. A whole different story right now, man.
Talk to me, EJ.
Well, I was just thinking about it. I don't know if there's a rapper that I could think of in any recent time that delivered on an album the way Nipsey delivered on this. Victory Lap. I think in terms of like the anticipation, the hype, the hope for what it could be for his career. I'm trying to think of a recent example of that. I can't think of one.
You know what this album reminds me of, EJ? Just to jump in for a second. You're making a strong point. To me, this was kind of like his Reasonable in a lot of ways, where it was like, yo, this man is hungry, and there's no misses on this album, and it's not, and there's no radio reaches. Everything was very tight, street, hustler, hungry for more. And I always get Reasonable Doubt energy with this album. Carry on, sir.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, you felt like this was a guy who was now entering the prime of rap superstardom. So it's sad to think about his life being cut short in terms of where he would be today. I'm very fascinated by that because at the same time, what I've now learned in hip hop also is that your run is not forever. We think it's forever when it's happening, right? Like, even Hove, we thought was forever, and now he's doing bigger and better things, right? Like he's not in the middle of his run.
Easy.
Watch it now.
First,
as a rapper.
All right, fine.
I love 444. I'm not saying anything about his quality. I'm talking about just
you will be the only one.
His idea, the idea that he was going to be this guy that was going to be the top rap act the dynasty was gonna last forever. That's what we all thought, right? So many Drake, same thing. Like who's gonna take him off the top perch? Like, so I'm curious how Nipsey would have followed up from Victory Lap because it was so phenomenal. Now I love Crenshaw. I love so many of the other albums he did before that too. But it's just not easy to follow up a classic. So I'm curious what that spot would have been. But I think so you make a great point that where Kendrick does kind of get quote unquote more artistic, if you want to say. I do agree that there's nothing Nipsey would have delivered that the streets wouldn't have liked. So I think that was an excellent point. I totally co-sign that. And I would love to have seen how his role would have shaped in the whole Drake Kendrick thing. And what does someone having a heavyweight like that on the West Coast? Because I don't think that there's another. Well, honestly, the other guy who's a Toronto guy that would probably be The Weeknd, who Drake can't stand, right? So it didn't help him. But like, what would have happened if there was another West Coast heavyweight who certainly would have been with Kendrick's side? How that would have shaken the whole thing out too. I think it would have been very fascinating. But R.I.P. to the great Nipsey Hussle.
Absolutely, Macito, music is He hops over the barricade with the steel chair. We thought we lost you for a second, but welcome into the Rap Round Table.
Yes,
the
sir.
People noticed that your accent was very loud. I was starting to get concerned. I thought that the embassy scooped you up and said you weren't allowed to talk about Kanye. We're gonna get back to you in a second, but what are your thoughts about Nipsey Hussle, 6-year anniversary of his passing? Where hip hop is today and where it would have been potentially had he still been here.
Wow. 6-year passing. I think Nip, that's one of those like you kind of remember where you were type of moments when you got that Nip news. You know what I mean? I still remember, chilling in the crib and you heard that it was a little jarring. You know what I mean? As far as what his place in hip hop would have been right now, I think I wasn't here for the entire time you guys been speaking about. EJ, you made some fantastic points. It's kind of hard to tell, right? I feel like in 2025, with the Great Reset, right, with regionality being in right now, it seems very easy to place Nipsey right in the middle of the game and be doing this thing. We see Tyler, we see Schoolboy, we see, the whole West Coast stomping around. It's interesting, right? Because Nipsey is not one of those artists that would have been willing to compromise. So in the last, in the years in between his passing and now, it would have been, I don't know where he would have necessarily been as far as commercial wise and mainstream wise in the game. Artists like him, very much artists like, like Pusha T, artists like Freddie Gibbs that have a certain, they want to put a certain level of art out. They want to put a certain, they have a certain level that they're trying to hit when they're actually putting out music. So I don't know, you know what I mean? Like we all know the game is kind of, we had those the baby years, right? We had those Lil Baby, is the next rap superstar years. We had the Meg Thee Stallion versus Doja Cat years, you know what I mean? So I don't know how Nip would have, how his, popularity would have shaken out in a game where that was succeeding. So it's an interesting thought. As far as his artistry, I was extremely excited to see where he was going to be going. You're right, because even though Victory Lap was his debut album, it was his reasonable, as y'all said, Nip had been in the game like 10 years before then, right? So we had saw the progression. We saw where he was going. We saw, how, when he was ready to put all of his effort into one project, what he was able to do. You know what I mean? So even though, it's all about perspective, right? Because, you can't really compare it popularity wise. But for me, this was more like a hard knock life in it. You know what I mean? Where it just felt like everybody finally accepted like who he was, you know what I mean? How good he was, what he meant into the game. You know what I mean? So I don't know, bro. Like it would have been interesting, right? We didn't see Nip through the Griselda era, right? We didn't see Nip, just like EJ mentioned, this battle would have been insane to see what was going on.
Nipsey on the West Side Project would have been something to hear.
That would have been
crazy. That would have
been
that would have been wild.
I imagine an artist like Nipsey throughout the pandemic probably would have been feeding the streets, right? He probably would have had a couple of joints every other week for us. You know what I mean? So it's upsetting to think about, right? Because he was an artist that really gave a fuck about the art. Like he gave a fuck about the community, like he gave a fuck about a lot of things, but he was a hip hop head, you know what I'm saying? Which like people of the cloth like us could always appreciate. So it's just, listen, I don't know, but I would have been, he was an artist that I think, I know me and Jaws specifically really followed Nip, really were big fans of his. So it would have been exciting to see where he was going. This is like, it's fucked up to have to, reminisce on the anniversary of his death, right? It's fucked up, but rest in peace, Nip. Like y'all say, I don't mind talking about him and keeping his name in the atmosphere, even in a moment like this.
That's for sure. Nipsey was definitely one of those artists that we talked about back at our desk days when we was looking through like who was gonna make this shit shake when the South was making a snap. So yeah, it's tough, but what for Nip, what last year got me to thinking. I feel like had Nip not passed away, they would, because we talked about it with Baylor. Shout out to BTG. The West has this hip hop chip. Generally, it feels like the West Coast has a chip on their shoulder for a lot of things, but specifically the hip hop. I feel like had Nip been around and he would have been continuing to that ascend, because he was on the ascent, let's be clear. I don't think that the chip on their shoulder would have been as loud as it was around the time that Kenny took off. Because, especially considering what Nip represented as far as the streets go, he was more of a vessel for the streets of LA than Kendrick Lamar was. That's not a shot at Kendrick. It's just like sonically, musically, creatively, their approaches. That's all I'm saying. You know, you got to explain yourself because people get offended almost immediately. So I feel like had Nip been around and continued to be that presence, to be a part of the 60s, and we know what impact being a part of the 60s has to the city of LA and the culture abroad, I feel like a guy like Drake wouldn't have made certain comments. He wouldn't have fixed his mouth to play and say I'm bigger in your city than you. They wouldn't have people wouldn't have been as loose out the mouth or as comfortable in LA if there's a presence like a Nipsey Hussle, because call it what it is, Kendrick Lamar wasn't the quote LA guy for quite a bit. He was the Compton guy, but he wasn't a flag waving LA guy where you saw how he basically got, low key, if you know, when it comes to his last album, that sounded like an LA Leakers Sunday. If you played, I used to tell you, I'd be in the whip listening to LA Leakers on a Sunday, and I used to hear so many artists and go, this is fire. Who are these West Coast guys? And it seems like he got the all-stars from that group and put it on GNX. And he hasn't been that guy for a bit. Maybe Nip would have made that happen much sooner. You know what I mean? Than a Kendrick Lamar. But I feel like Kendrick created a void that we didn't quite understand until he wasn't there. And then these events start taking place, and it's just like, whoa. LA really needs a guy with his both feet on the ground, and Kendrick sees it now. But I think I'd like to see a Schoolboy do that as well, to have both 10 toes down to LA and put on for your city. Because again, as we are regressing and we're getting into a more regional dynamic of hip hop, which I think is absolutely necessary for the Sonics to grow universally, you need more people with their feet on the ground that can give you the messaging and the Sonics. Because a lot of times in rap, especially rap, things change sonically in the streets before it ever gets to a DSP or a radio station. So if you have the best guys with their ears to the streets, it just means that we're pushing the margins even further. Like a Kendrick making a Squabble Up or a Peekaboo, we never got that kind of vibe. You got to have your ears to the street to know what's happening out here. So from that perspective, I feel like he's missed because LA needed their to me, like if Kendrick is Captain America or Kendrick is Tony Stark, then to me, then Nip was supposed to be the Captain America for the LA Avengers. You know what I mean? You got the hot tech guy, and you got your guys with his feet on the ground. Not a superpower, no loose engrave behind him, but he got the right type of energy to push it forward. And with the LA politics, we talk about that on 120 that dropped this Wednesday. I feel like certain things got very loose post Nipsey passing with the clubhouses, which led to the Twitter spaces. There's certain, to me, as a civilian from New York City, I get the sense that there's things that we hear about on these podcasts when it comes to LA politics that we're not supposed to know about.
Yeah.
Clearly. Yeah. And I'm not making this a LA critique, but it's like some of them they share too much. And maybe if you look at how Black Sam handled homie when he opened Marathon Burger. Right? I get the sense that if you would have had a Nipsey Hussle, his presence, and that kind of political impact that it has on the streets, guys probably don't go in those pods and share as much as they do, or go in a clubhouse and share as much as they do. You need to have those totems in your neighborhoods to make sure that certain things stay within the neighborhood. Like you think about the situation in New York. How much New York guys is going on podcasts talking about what's happening on the Ave or in the Bronx or in Queens or whatever? Like, we're not hearing that because there's certain rules of engagement that these street niggas are supposed to follow. And I feel like if you don't have the necessary totems to balance it out, you have more wax. Who's the Nip to balance out the wax? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
We need that. Just for the sake of balance. I don't get into gang politics. That's none of my business. But much like to the Kanye conversation, and Mace, I'm coming back to you with that in a second, the people only see the sensationalized shit. So if they see a Big U get bagged and Loose Cannon and all these guys get bagged, that's all they see. Who's counteracting that? You know, as a street guy, not as a Kendrick, as a guy who's wearing his blue flag, got the plaid on, the chucks on. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need somebody to be that type of person. That's all I'm saying. You know, I'm not trying to be my Petri vase. I hate to see certain things. But
you speaking facts.
Facts
right now.
Yeah, for real.
Going crazy.
You know, you are the Akademiks correspondent for the Rap Roundtable. We did the best that we could here to talk about this. You know what I mean? But what are your thoughts on Kanye West's interview, his outfit, Akademiks standing up, looking very uncomfortable. What's your takeaways?
Listen, man. This interview was something, right? We waited on this a little minute. I was entertained. Let's say that first and foremost. I was there live, with the shouts to Act. I think it got up to like 500K on Twitter. I ain't never seen these numbers. I'm like, wow, goddamn. You know what I mean? So shouts to him. Shouts to Act for securing the interview. I know there's a lot of arguments about securing interviews and big artists and all of that shit right now. So salute to being able to be the ones that can get this type of interview. As far as the content itself, listen, it's Kanye. You know a person is insane when all you can do is describe them with their own name, right? Like Job. What do you think about Job? Hey, he's Job. You ain't shit, right, Job?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Fair enough.
So, it's like it's what you expect from Kanye.
Like, hey, it's Dennis Rodman. You know what
I
mean? It's Old Dirty. What you gonna do with it? You know what I mean?
Cameraman, that's just Rodman.
It's OJ. What do you expect?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's with Kanye, this is the type of shit you expect, right? The antics, the sound bites, the quotables. But I will say this, right? I will say this. There's never all the way one way and all the way the other way, right? So you have the Kanye stance who's acting like he's speaking the gospel, and he's the one uncovering the industry. You know what I mean? He's the only one willing to do this. You know what I mean? Like, listen, that's a little bit far too. But even me, and me, I literally maybe 2 weeks ago said to never listen to anything Kanye says or does. But even that's hyperbole, right? Even you shouldn't even be like that with it. You come to expect this type of shit from a Kanye interview, right? Equal parts insight, equal parts insanity, right? A person who's willing to, that's gonna be completely boastful and completely, how some people feel borderline arrogant about whatever he's selling at that moment, right? That's he got to sell us some shit. Don't think that's not the case. There's gonna be a little bit of industry, like behind the scenes shit that he's not supposed to be talking about, but there's also gonna be some type of ludicrous shit that literally is not true. You know what I mean? So when you listen to these things, you kind of got to take whatever you want from it, right? I don't think that I did find some parts interesting, right? I did find the part. Listen, as far as his how he spoke about Cardi, right, and how he felt like Cardi turned his back on him. I kind of understood that. Listen, the Jim Jones story. I told y'all about Harlem niggas like 3 months ago, and I haven't been proven wrong yet. Yeah. Apologies, Sin. So I believe that. The disrespect. That this is what Kanye does. He's not gonna say that to your face, but he's gonna do that at this moment.
I got something to say to that, especially the capo and the Cardi take or Cook.
Right, because he's not gonna say it to their face. So listen, what Kanye is kind of easy to see through, right? When he's a contrarian to end all contrarians, right? When everybody liked Diddy a couple years ago, Diddy was a Fed. Now he loves Diddy. That's his guy, right? You know what I mean? Literally 8 months ago, plotting on the destruction of Drake, and Drake was Lucian Grange's baby. Now Kendrick is Lucian Grange's baby and fighting, he supports Drake in his fight against the machine. Like, it's like you have to, if you're old enough and you've seen how Kanye operates for long enough, you see all of this. He's literally the same guy that he always was. It's just the world is different. The perspective is different. What makes you upset is different. So he has to say something different. So it's like, nah, listen, I'm not one of those people that's living on the edge of everything Kanye says. I do believe what I said as far as, nothing Kanye says affects how I feel about things, how I operate. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I'm here for entertainment. I watched the entire interview like twice. You know what I'm saying? So isn't that what they wanted at the end of the day?
And you know, I mean,
man, Mesito.
Business is business at the end of the day. Word to J. Cole when he rhymed that line. Business is business. We understand that everything here is transactional. That's why part of the that's another reason why I get mad at Ye, because it's like, bro, you doing all of this, and it's like we know why you doing it. You know, if Kanye didn't have no music coming out, right, and it was just like a Thursday, and we just macking it, and he just decides to start wilding. Oh, all right, maybe let me hear what Ye got to say. But because we know Bully is somewhere lurking, it's already floating on in the internet. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't care. We know why you're doing it. But I got an issue with what you said though. Yeah, I'm calling you because you defended Kanye. Mace. But to me, Kanye does all of this boasting, all of this big shot bravado chit chat, right?
Right.
And yet, you ever notice that all of his stories end up the same way, where he ends up looking like a naive bozo? So it's like Capo needs you. I'm sorry. Nah, because I was in the car.
It's a fact though. Like,
you know, Capo needed you to do this thing so he could beat up 2 M's. And then he just ghosted you. He don't know how to do a PDF. Come on, yeah.
He said nah and just stop texting.
Like, how much times that he's treating Ye the same way they was treating Ye before he got in the league, bro. So it's like, how many times are we gonna hear these stories about you getting clowned by guys that think you're a clown? You out here bugging the fuck out. Playboy Cardi about to drop the biggest statistical release of the calendar year. Not Kendrick. Kendrick dropped in 2024. Y'all do remember?
Yes, sir.
The biggest release of the calendar year. You think he want to stand next to you right now? How you the victim? You know, like I just get tired of these stories where it's like Kanye does a good job of pointing the finger, right, but he never talks about, like, you know what? I be wild. I be fucking up too. Like, I'm a goofy. I let Capo. All of a sudden, you wearing the Dipset chain in the video. He treating you like a little thun. He treating you like Neon in Harlem when he took him through the projects just so he could get his 2 M's and curve you, bro. And every time niggas call, you answer the phone. So at the end of the day, as much as I'm evil and I'm a god, you're still that lame nigga from Chicago that want to get into the rap game. And people show you that from time to time. And you know what? And I think that's why he gets as mad as he gets. Because he knows no matter what he does, he'll never get the respect that he really wants. Jim Jones clowning you? He's still Capo's still in Harlem, bro. He's not even in Miami with a new crib. He's still in Harlem. How does he have access to you to do that?
Listen, y'all, you kind of speaking the gospel right now. All his stories end up with him being the sucker in the story, whether it's men or women. You know what I'm saying? Like white or black. You know what I'm saying?
It don't
domestic
matter.
Or abroad. Like, come on now.
He's like the worst evil genius. He's like imagine like you have like almost like Dr. Evil, or like these like villains that we think are these like grand villains that have these Machiavellian schemes, right, no pun intended, and then you realize the emperor has no clothes constantly.
What was
whether
the name
of
the villain?
Run, whether everything he's you're right. I didn't even think about it. I think you made a great point, Jarv. Like everything he's done, it's like you keep thinking there's something behind these movements that we're not seeing. Like we always say, Hove is playing chess, whether we think he is or not. We know Kanye's not playing chess. We know he is playing tic-tac-toe. Like he presents himself like he's trying to split the atom.
He's not even playing tic-tac-toe with paper, EJ. He's playing it on concrete with washable chalk, bro. Like, come on. Like, he's the villain from fucking, remember the villain from the Powerpuff Girls?
Mojo Jojo. Yeah, exactly.
Great ideas, but he always finds a way to lose. It never fails. But we got to move on, EJ. I wanted to get you on for this topic as well.
Yeah.
So, last week, the news cycle was going crazy. LeBron James decides to go on Pat McAfee, talks crazy about Stephen A. Smith in his tidy whities eating ice cream on his biggest ops platform. Because if you follow media, you know that Stephen A. has some issues with how Pat McAfee came through the ESPN, crushed the buildings, essentially got everything he wanted. Got Shams on the platform when Shams wasn't even signed to ESPN, when Woj was their guy. There was a lot of moving parts behind the scenes. The First Take staff wasn't the faces and the voices of First Take weren't allowed to go on McAfee's show. And all of a sudden, Braun is there. LeBron James in Indianapolis talking to Pat McAfee. What's this about? You see Stephen A. Smith, going from pod to pod, his pod included, talking about what he would have did had he had the opportunity to in real time when you didn't do anything, And it got me to thinking, like, at a certain point, and you threw the tweet up last week about it, this starting to feel like a work. And I felt like it was legit a shoot. Then it became a work almost immediately after, because both parties realized that there's money to be made in this. But I also got to thinking over the weekend, I feel like this is like the unintended consequences of a successful rap beef with Drake and Kendrick Lamar, to where now you have a guy like LeBron and Stephen A. Smith feuding while Stephen A. just got his bag and he's trying to build his podcast platform, and Mind the Game is on its way for season 2. So what do you think about my hypothesis that these guys are trying to take a page from Drake and Kendrick and have a beef to stir up conversation?
Listen, I mean, you guys know how big a fan LeBron is of hip hop. I mean, he will tell you any moment, anytime. He loves talking about how much he loves hip hop. He loves showing himself, getting the lyrics wrong on songs he's singing in the back of his Maybach or his Phantom or whatever he's doing. Like, so we know he loves hip hop, right? And we know how close
crazy rap really
is. Yeah, we know how close he is to both of these guys. I don't know. It seems like Drake and him may be on the outs right now, but he's been close to both of these guys. So I definitely feel like he definitely would want to take part in this. I think Stephen A. is someone who say what you want about him, and I could certainly say a hell of a lot about him. I think he is someone who tries to have a pulse on the culture and tries to have a pulse on what's happening. I think these two guys that saw a rap beef literally get to the biggest stage we have in America, which is the Super Bowl, and they thought, hey, like, again, I think Jar is right. I think something that maybe started as a shoot and said, well, this is going great. I mean, this is the biggest story in the NBA, which as an NBA fan, like, disgusts me, quite frankly. Like, there's so many great stories happening in the league in terms of basketball. But you're lying if you say this isn't the biggest story in the NBA, this beef between LeBron and Stephen A. Smith, and I think it benefits both of them. I'm not sure how much longer it will benefit if, like, we continue to get more over the top with, like, the stuff they're talking about. Like, I don't think LeBron can take more shots at Wendy or random strays at people who don't have anything to do with it. I don't think Stephen A. keep making up facts about LeBron missing funerals where he was at. I think that's not good for either party. So I kind of wonder if this starts to cool down a bit. Maybe it's a conspiracy theory EJ here, but I thought it was interesting that the next day after the Stephen A. gaffe that happened with the Kobe thing, he screws up another gaffe saying that, like, Nolan Richardson, the former coach of Arkansas, was dead when he was alive, which is a fact that he should have easily known. And then LeBron makes the gaffe against the Bulls, and they lose that game too. Like, I kind of wonder if this thing is actually starting to wear on both of these guys, and we kind of are starting to see the cracks in their performances. Well, LeBron on the court and then Stephen A. on his show. So, I mean, I agree. I definitely feel like this feels so over the top at this point. Both guys look outrageous to me. Like, I mean, seeing LeBron, like, flexing, talking about tighty whities and ice cream, like, it's a crazy visual. Like, LeBron is the most, like, put together athlete of his generation for the most part. Very few missteps in terms of, like, acting out of character. But clearly, I think this is something they realized was picking up a lot of steam. This is why they want the story to keep going on. Like, he went on Pat McAfee, the biggest platform he could possibly go on. And I will say one thing real quick. I said this and I kind of, like, floated it out there, and I was like, I don't know if the timeline's ready for this, but I feel this way. Like, I feel a way about LeBron going on Pat McAfee. Like, that to me, in terms of the issues I have an issue with that, because to me, I think when we talk about anytime you have Black celebrities of high prominence going through some kind of disagreement, we know what the perception will be from people, Black people, but also people obviously outside of our community, and what that looks like. I think to decide from LeBron James to say, hey, I'm gonna go on the whitest platform possible to perpetuate this beef I have with another Black celebrity on his own network, I thought was corny. I'm sorry. Like, I feel like he should have went on Joe Budden. He could have won the Breakfast Club. He could have been on Drink Champs. He could have been on Bomani Jones at the right time. He could have been with Jamel Hill. There are sports people he could have went on. I think that was a decision he made that is the only thing about that interview that really sat poorly with me, besides the Wendy shot that was uncalled for. But him even going on there was just like, you're LeBron James. You don't need that platform. You could have went on any major platform and you would have made some noise and some trees shake, and you could have done it without perpetuating this perception of what Black on Black
But did you see him dapping up your man Nick Wright at the end of the Grizzlies game?
I saw that too.
I mean, he liked what he liked now. I'm not black.
Look,
I'm OJ.
Listen, I saw the Nick Wright thing. I know, and look, I mean, we know what time it is, right? I mean, Nick Wright's represented by Clutch. I mean, I was at Super Bowl. Nick Wright is at the Clutch Sports Party, you know, dapping up everybody, you know, as if he's like the king of the party. Like, so, like, we know what time it is with that. But I don't know, man. It's just like that part of it for me was the only thing I was like, all right, this is going to continue. Like, there are so many other platforms where you could have kept this within the culture, because we're going to talk about the inspiration to hip hop with this beef, which I think are definitely there. You don't then take this to Pat McAfee, who's done nothing for this culture, who's done nothing for black celebrities. Like, I just, and it's not anything against Pat McAfee. I thought he did a very good job. I thought he did a very good interview, and shout out to him for getting it. Like, it's not anything against him. It's only about LeBron's decision in that, and that bothered me. Facts.
Since they're the rap snob, let's talk about it, man. Is Stephen A. Smith and LeBron trying to pull off a Drake and Kendrick situation here?
Probably. And I don't know how I feel about it. Because, like, I'm always one. Look, it's not that I don't like controversy. It's not that I don't like beefs. It's not that, I mean, clearly, like, you know what I mean? Like, we've been talking about this Kendrick Drake thing for the past year. But it at least with that, it felt like there was something like organic about it. Like, it built up over the years. You know what I mean? We could take it back to, like, the BET Cypher. We could take it back to Control. We could take it back to, like, you know, all of these other moments, right? I remember it was some time ago now. Mace was helping us put together some YouTube shorts. You know what I mean? When we was doing the YouTube shorts, when we was doing like the 1 week series of, you know, of songs and stuff. And we did a series of like all the back and forth between Drake and Kendrick over the years. You know what I mean? So that was organic. You know what I mean? But that's what ends up happening in media, especially in you know, in this day and age, and in the social media age, and in the, you know, the controversy sells age. I mean, controversy is always sold, but like now there's so much more pressure to like, oh, like we got this clip and it did how many numbers? It got how many views? It was retweeted how many times? Let's do that again. No. Not next week. Not in 3 days. Like tomorrow. You know what I mean? We got to keep this cycle going. And that's the part of it that kind of bothers me. It's like, and sure, maybe it did start off as something that was, you know, that was an authentic, you know, disagreement and an authentic, you know what I mean, like spat. But like, it does kind of feel like, what I was saying, it does kind of feel like they noticed, oh shit, like this shit is, you know what I mean, this shit is creating a buzz. And you know, we've all heard the stories of, you know, the NBA ratings, you know, kind of tanking. And so, yeah, I do. Like, I feel like, you know what I mean, they're really playing into it to try to create some buzz around the NBA. But I feel like at the end of the day, I feel like they're going about it the wrong way. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? The WWE rap beef, that's one thing. But like the stories about the NBA and about basketball should be about the basketball. You know what I mean? Not about like media personalities and certain basketball players having arguments and disagreements. So, yeah, I'm not really fucking with it.
Mesito, talk about it.
Good dialogue, fellas. Y'all cooking with this one. I won't say it is completely one way or the other. I think it's halfway a shoot, halfway a work. Shout to Deanie. I'm taking your spot. Why do I believe that? Listen, I think that these guys genuinely have a distaste for each other. I don't think that they like each other at all. You know what I mean? Nothing about, you know, how Stephen A. has, you know, spoken about him over the years, you know, almost making fun of him being a good dad and a good father and a good, you know what I mean? You know how Stephen A. been carrying on for years with that, right? And LeBron, listen, LeBron, as far as, you know, those of us who pay attention to that sort of thing, it seemed like he's kind of, you know, been only dealing with his media guys for the last, 7-8 years. You know what I mean? The Nick Wrights, the Channing Frys, the Kendrick Perkins, which may be in disarray at this point. To be honest with you, it seemed like Perk picked size. You know what I mean? I guess he's YG in this. I don't know. But as these are two people at the absolute apex of their fields, right? So they're not idiots, they're not dumb, they know what the fuck is going on, right? So that's why I believe it's a little bit of a work, right? Like clearly, Stephen A knows that this is gonna drive, the ratings he brags about constantly even higher, right? LeBron, is a media mogul himself. He knows exactly what he's doing here. He goes to Pat McAfee, the Mind the Game pod. The trailers are coming out. Like he want to make a buck off of this too, for sure. But it's just like I say, it's halfway one way and halfway the other. I get, what is this, the Akron screw job? I don't know. Because at the end of the day, I do think that LeBron would like to put Stephen A out of business. I do think he would like to knock him down off that perch, right? He would like to, be at the forefront of what it seems like these, players, these player-driven media type of situations to take over officially. They trying to bury inside the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Stephen A, the top of his field. They trying to get him up out of here. Seem like the players this year specifically, they trying to make a move to try to get, the old guard off the, the top of the perch, I guess what you can call it. So I do think, listen, they know this is, they know we all paying attention, right? They know this is gonna drive the ratings. They know exactly what they're doing. But I do think, like, listen, Stephen A straight up lied on his name, like straight up, and brought up a dead man to do it. You know what I mean? Somebody we all loved. He knew once he said that.
Yeah, that's trash.
We always gonna look at LeBron like, really, bro? You know what I mean? Like he knew that.
But the Tarasi clip was right there, bro. How did you mess that up? You know what I mean?
It
the
really
man was front row. He was like literally front row by the podium.
And in 5 years, somebody would have brought it up before you, Stephen A. Like, you know what I'm saying? Somebody would have said something, especially with the Kobe and LeBron fans, being the Kendrick and Drake fans. But I do think at the end of the day, they want to fuck each other over, right? They do want, Stephen A, you hear him talk about, oh, I'll be here longer than you. I don't know, Stephen A. It looked like LeBron got plans to be here like 10 more years. I don't know, brother. So yeah, it's a little bit of a work because these guys are sharp and they know what the fuck is going on. But I do think they hate each other's guts. You know what I mean? So if they fucked up each other's whole situation, I do think they would take, a victory in that.
This situation here is very, that last piece about new media that you were talking about. I think this season it has come to a head because of the fact that, at first I used to say I was against the whole narrative that the media played a role in how the game is portrayed. But I guess because I'm such a basketball snob that I'm looking at, for instance, like Mason will talk about it. I hate drop coverage. So I'll cry about, why are we not hedging on pick and rolls? Why are we in drop coverage? Like I'm too busy worrying about that to realize that I shouldn't be asking that question because there should be someone in Stephen A's chair to talk about drop coverage and why teams do that and why we because I always look at the Miami Heat as an example. They would have Chris Bosh hedge on them pick and rolls and then get back and rotate. Why don't we see that anymore? Why does it take LeBron James doing a podcast with his now coach JJ Redick to talk about these things on that level? Don't get it twisted. There are plenty of YouTube channels that teach the game. But the reality is, for all those YouTube channels, you need pertinent voices on television or at these big networks to teach the game. You look at the NFL. The NFL doesn't allow that type of nonsense where you just throw these random takes out there. You have to know what you're talking about. Baseball, the same thing. You have to know what you're talking about. I always joke with Mason and say, like, when it's football season, you know that Stephen A is a fish out of water because you can tell by the way he talks about the game that he really doesn't know the ins and outs of football. He can't break down a single high from a two high look on defense. He just doesn't know what's going on, right? So I think that the players are now fighting back. But at the same time, it's like when you decide that you want the top face of the league, it is what it is. LeBron's still the number one guy in the NBA, for better or worse. The top voice of NBA coverage, absolutely for better or worse, Stephen A. Smith. It's you should buy it. It's good business. The NBA has a whole working relationship with ESPN.
Right.
There was the ratings crisis to the point that you had the commissioner going on a podcast to talk about it, to say it's really not that bad. Yeah, it was. It was pretty bad, in fact. So now you see it now. We've had more violence. There's been more fights. It's been more controversy surrounding the league to drum up conversation. To me, this situation is personal, but I think both sides benefit because it keeps the NBA in the news cycle as a talking point. Now, to the talking of it all, this is where I'm going to be a keen observer. And I feel as though we needed a better rivalry for LeBron James. Where are the Peter Vessies of the world? You know what I mean? Stephen A. Smith is not the guy. Yeah, we got to do it. Stephen A. Smith is not the guy for LeBron James. And I'm going to tell you why this is. Because the thing is, it's two very insecure people having a clash. You know, even though LeBron has a high ground because he's played some very shrewd chess going on McAfee show, understanding what the dynamics are. Because trust me, he knows. But when you have two guys, and hear me out, y'all, I'm being dead serious when I say this. When you have two guys who refuse to accept that their roofs are panoramic and they not trying to come home, you doing hair plug treatments. You got Stephen A's hairlines back here. Two guys who are extremely insecure about their hairline have beef. Of course, this beef is like this. Two very unserious people about their hairline are having a problem. This psychologically, there's so much going on there. You know what I mean?
So you're saying Jarvis?
You don't see that every day, man.
You should have went to someone like Bomani Jones, who was
a guy
all off. He said, "Come on home." Like he's very comfortable. Yeah,
comfortable being bald, comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. Doesn't care what people think about him. He just calling it how he sees it. Stephen A's very insecure. Look. His relationship with Max Kellerman is that of a person who was very made to feel even more insecure than he already was. Max Kellerman was smarter than him. Max Kellerman did have more love at that time. For better or worse, black people were leaning with Max a lot of times to the point that on camera, we used to see him try to, every time Max had something to say, Stephen A. rolling his eyes, Stephen A. poo-pooing him. That whole meme about, I'm here to tell you that we don't care. He's talking to Max. You know what I mean? He got very uncomfortable. LeBron James has tried everything imaginable, from hair pieces to hair plugs. Remember that time he had the headband on and he pushed his hairline back and AD was like, yo, bro, you got to fix your rug. You know what I'm saying? To the point that now he's finally come home and decided to rock the light Caesar at the top, but he won't let go of the do-rag. What are you wearing a do-rag for, bro? I'm just saying.
This is one of the place I did not expect.
Nah, but I'm just saying.
I'm happy we're here, though. I'm happy we're here.
Factual, though.
Nah, for sure.
Psychologically, you have two guys who are uber successful, but uber insecure about who they are and how they're viewed, having a problem that can easily be fixed by one conversation, but they spend so much time overthinking things like their hairline that they don't understand that they don't have to worry about that. Y'all are alpha males in y'all world. Just converse and move on, bro. That's it.
But it's fun in some ways, Jarv. That's why I think each guy thinks that they're facing the perfect opponent, right? Because I think LeBron, in terms of Stephen A. especially, that's why Stephen A. keeps mentioning, you're only doing this because I think you're number two. He's literally trying to hit at a insecurity that he thinks LeBron has, and he thinks he can hit that home over and over and over again. And for Stephen A., for LeBron, what does he say? He says, you keep thinking you're this big tough guy, and you didn't do anything when I talked to you. So what does Stephen A. do? He has to go with Gilbert Arenas and say, oh, it was a punk move, it was a weak move. And then that wasn't enough. So then he had to come back a week later and say, actually, I would have swung on him if something happened. Like, he knows, like, each
don't believe that, EJ?
All Stephen A. had to do in that moment, because it's like, you know what? That's Stephen A. know he lost that exchange.
Yeah.
All Stephen A. had to do in that moment, because it was at a timeout. Bro had to go hoop. He didn't have us so much time. Just put your hand up. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, you didn't even have to say fuck out. You could have said anything. Yo, I like your uniform, but just pantomime that you wildin'. And people see that, and it would have been okay. But to LeBron of it all, LeBron knows that Stephen A. wants to be respected as an elite alpha male with swag. So what does he say? You in your tidy whities eating ice cream. He tried to ultimately little bro a guy who just signed for 100 M's. They both trying to place. They have a psychological warfare from insecure positions. So it's like I can't take this serious. Y'all, you don't. Oh, he's cool with Maverick. He's cool with LeBron's agent. What's homie name, Mace?
Rich Paul.
Rich Paul. Yeah. But you can't get next to LeBron. Stop. We know what's going on here. Insecure.
And we know
they having a slap fight. That's what this is.
Y'all said it's two Drakes in this battle. What happened?
Yes, there's no Kendrick here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and you know how it is, right? Like if you have LeBron talks about Rich and Maverick being not just like business partners, legit homies, like brothers. Like none of my homies are just like cool with ops. Right. None of my homies are taking phone calls from the ops. None of my homies are having conversation with the ops. None of them saying, hey, like, I'm cool. Like, that's just not a thing. So when we talk about whether this thing is a work or not, it's hard for me to see Stephen A. consistently talk about how much he loves Rich Paul and how much he loves Maverick and how much he loves his team. But then he hates LeBron so much. Like, because he really on his podcast, like, I hate him. I don't like him. Like,
they don't like
I
Stephen.
don't know, man.
They laugh at Stephen A. privately. That's the one takeaway I got from that interview is that they clown Stephen A. regularly in their group chat. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Straight like that. But yo, EJ, we appreciate you pulling up with us. You know, essentially being a sub for 3/4 of your pull up. We appreciate you. You know what I mean? Let everyone know where they can find you on the socials and the multiple podcasts you be on. Where can they lock in with you at?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This was a blast, man. So yeah, you can find me on X EJ_Stewart, Instagram and TikTok Action EJ, of course. Every Monday through Friday on the Maggie and Perlow Show, Infinity Sports Network. Catch that on the Odyssey app, Sirius Channel 375. If you have Sirius XM satellite, and wherever you may be having your local affiliate, your Odyssey affiliate for sports. And of course, my own podcast network, New Generation Podcast Network. We do sports, we do superhero content. We just launched a new wrestling podcast. The guy I just mentioned, my guy Lucas Goldman. So shout out to him, former WB writer, doing amazing stuff in this new show we launched. So appreciate you guys, and this was a blast.
Absolutely, you will definitely be back in the future.
Come through again sometime, bro.
Welcome at our lunch table whenever you want, bro.
That's what's up. Appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir. The homie EJ pulling up to the Rap Round table. Thanks. We got one last thing to talk about before we get up out of here, guys. Drake drops his video. Are we going to the embassy, Sin? I just want to be clear. It's nothing to do with the two of us.
In the 6, man.
Yeah. OVO drops this music video for Nokia. And the streets are upset. They saying Drake did Party Next Door dirty. Visuals, no party. You use party as a crutch in the midst of a battle of a lifetime, and he can't even get in a song that he's on for the visual. What's going on, OVO Macito?
Listen, man, it is what it is sometimes, right? He got Dear Summered, bro. You know what I mean? It happens sometimes. Wow. You feel me? It's what we do, you know. You know, I can't be mad at it. You know, listen. All jokes aside, it is a little strange, right? Party Next Door Drake album. No Party Next Door Insight. You know what I mean? Even homie from Sierra Leone, who actually is singing on the hook, the baby girl part. Deuces sings that part. I expected to see him in the video somewhere. I was a little bit disappointed about that. But listen, we know what it is, right? Listen, this was Drake just trying to see if niggas still like him, bro. Now that Nokia is actually popular, he back on his Drake shit. That's all this really was. This Party Next Door. You had nothing to do with this, my brother. No offense. But Job, I would like to speak about some part of this video. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know if we was going to tap into it because shouts to Sin, fourth quarter made sure we was aware that the video dropped. I was a little nervous because it was supposed to be Friday. Then they pushed it to Monday, and then halfway through Monday we didn't have it. I was like, what's going on? But you know, listen. And Sin, you might want to speak to this. You know, I represent the embassy, but you do represent the kinfolk of the chat. They're saying that this video is a low-key reply to Not Like Us. And at first I was like, here go, these conspiracy theorists again. You know what I mean? Oh boy. Follow this along with the daughter, guys. At first I was saying that, right? But I think they got a point, right? They do have multiple instances where the scene in the video kind of mirrors what was going on in Not Like Us. You do have the owl response at the end, right? Remember the caged owl in Not Like Us? Now you got the owl staring you down in the Nokia video. You got, you know, from DeMar DeRozan, random cameo and Not Like Us. Now we got Shay repping the 6 in the Nokia video. How you feel about that? And is this like a low-key reply to the Not Like Us video?
Well, I'm gonna say this: the moment I watched it, about halfway through, I immediately got a sense of, oh, he's kind of doing a Kendrick video here. You know what I mean? Not in the content, because you know you got the dances, like it's a lot more ostentatious than a standard Kendrick video. But I mean in the way that it's shot, the camera work, the camera panning, the just the visual, the shooting aesthetics, not necessarily the visuals of what was actually shot, but the way it was shot, I was like, oh, this is really giving me like a Kendrick vibe. So like, I can see it. I think, yeah, people might have a point. You might have a point that he's trying to like, you know, somehow respond to Kendrick visually through this video. I see it for sure. And it's a good video. Like the moment I said, oh shit, this video is actually good, but Drake never makes good videos. So what's going on here? I was like, he's kind of emulating the Kendrick blueprint. I see what's going on. Right.
Since there's some got to be fucking going on here, man.
Some's off.
It's like that one game LeBron played like Kobe. I was like, maybe he is the GOAT.
when you try to emulate what it should look like, it kind of works, right? But look, man, I don't care about no fucking visuals, subliminals with videos. Aubrey, bro, if you're not delivering bars, if you're not telling this guy to fuck out of here, I don't care. Honestly, he could drop 100 videos and he could make 100 video responses. I want to hear the raps. I don't want the singing raps. I don't want the sideways talk on collaboration albums. Get in the booth, deliver the bars. I don't want to hear nothing else, bro. Daylight was on the podcast talking about that recently, saying like, bro, like get in the booth, like go rap, like all this extra stuff. You don't get me wrong. I understand. You galvanizing Club Paradise. You doing what you're supposed to do. You keep your base engaged and entertained because they love shit like that. You know what I mean? Their hero is in their mind. Their hero is fighting back. But the reality is, the rules of engagement with these two guys are such that if you are not rapping, nothing else matters. And that's where I'm at with this. Cool video, cool stuff, great response. Fucking 8 months later, whatever. You know what I mean? If you're not rapping, I don't give a fuck. That's where I'm at right now with that. Oh, Sincere froze. I didn't even know you.
Charles kept it consistent.
You know what I mean?
The entire time.
That's a fact. Welcome back. So I didn't even know you froze, gang.
Embassy cut the feed. What happened, man?
Hey, man, no, PG Lane cut the feed because you said a Drake video was good.
True.
You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, I want to make that clear too. Like, great visual. Like what I'm talking about. Don't conflate the two. What I'm talking about is just the intent of the visuals, not the visuals itself. Quality visuals. One thing Drake has never showed us on is putting the budget up for great videos. He's not giving you no cheap videos. He's not shooting videos on iPhones. He's not bullshitting you with the post productions. He's giving you high quality visuals. But your intent needs to be, if you want to squabble with Kendrick, you don't want the beef to die, then you gotta rap. You got and don't be the boxer. Don't be the boxer fighting from the outside, throwing jabs, hoping that he fuck up and then you could let that right hand go. Man, just let the right hand go. And if you get hit on the way, if he counter punch you on the way back, at least you let that right hand go. Don't be like, I hate to do this. Don't be like Triple G fighting Canelo the second time. Because you know Canelo's gonna catch you with that right. You still Triple G. You got a power punch too. Just let that thing go. If you're not gonna do that, then let's just move on. The tap dancing, throwing the jabs from the outside, trying to win on points. We're not doing that. He already knocked you down mad times. You know what I'm saying? There's like 4 10-8 rounds in this fight. You gotta get it back. What Magic said in that Olympic team video, you gotta get that back. You know what I'm saying? But anyway,
I want to crash out. I want Arturo Gotti. I just want him crashing out, bro.
That's a fact.
Throw mad punches, bro.
Mike H, you right. Triple G did get robbed the first 2 fights. But you know how he wouldn't have gotten robbed? If he would have let them hands go and tried to take Canelo head off. And that's the point here. Don't leave things to be figured out or to interpretation. To take control of your own destiny and go forward. That is it. But anyway, we about to wrap this up. Another fire pod, but we got these super chats to get to here. Appreciate y'all delivering as you do week in and week out. Ariel Smoke pulling up, setting the tone early. Stephen Drake Smith is spiraling like his zesty counterpart. Fully expecting him to sue his daddy LeBron next. Nasty trying to use Kobe, D-Wade, Bronny. It's getting crazy out here. That's the safest Ariel Smoke comment ever. Right. I Am Aboriginal says, thought we was done with the act when he said that weird stuff to that kid on the stream. I mean, yeah, you're right. But when Kanye looks the way he looks, if Kanye would have showed up in a regular outfit and didn't do that interview, we probably wouldn't have cared. We had to talk about it. It was the biggest story in rap today. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Come on. JP's Revenge with a $20 holla says, am I the only one that remembers when Ye showed text from his trainer that said they were basically going to turn him into a zombie after his Twitter rant in 2022? Then his dentist in quotes apparently got him hooked on whippets. To say the rap style, what are your thoughts on this kind of Bill sounding super chat?
That sounds crazy. I don't remember this either.
I remember
it. Yeah, I remember.
But again, I haven't paid attention to the Kanye rants for a very long time. You know what I mean? Like if I know we're gonna talk about it here, I'll be like, all right, let me go dig up the tweets. But like on an off day, on a random Tuesday, like I'm not checking for Kanye tweets.
Respectfully.
I'm done with bro.
The grown man right here.
JP's Revenge circles back with a $10 holla. Ye ain't Ye anymore. That's apparent. But I'm sure them people got to him after his expose about who runs the industry. Plus, his music hasn't been good in the last decade to me. Very true. I mean, you made some points. About the music, I don't get into the...
That's too, JP.
Facts. I don't get into the 10-4 talk. I don't got evidence. But the music part, yeah, 100% right. Jermaine L. Johnson, week in and week out delivering. He says, Ye is also secretly bothered that Hit Boy accomplished something special with Nas 6 times that Ye was never able to do. We don't know that. We can't put that on.
JLJ. Okay.
Like, come on, man. How you know what he feel?
I like it.
Has Ye dissed Hit Boy? I don't know.
I think somewhere I remember a Hit Boy mentioned somewhere in that Nori interview, but I don't even remember if it's positive or negative. Like Sensei, the boy crash out every month, man.
Very true. Drake got with a $5 holla says Nip was still the king of the coast up until now, like us cracked off. Oh, that's an interesting perspective. Squid Baby says this is the best hip hop podcast out right now. Appreciate that.
I
Squid
agree.
Baby. Love.
I appreciate it.
Love.
You are correct.
BTG pulls up. The healing is in the water. Baylor. Shout out to the homie.
What up, Baylor?
And Marquise with a $20 holla says, speaking of whack NBA reporters, circa 2007 NBA All-Star Weekend in a party I had no business being in. Jim Gray was at the bar by himself. No one spoke to him, LOL. Stories for days from that weekend, West Coast. Damn, the Jim Gray string.
Pull up next week, man. I need more of them type of stories, bro.
Baylorism spins a block says, OVO Mace, the cloth is on the way. Salute,
my boy, much appreciated.
On 120, Baylor delivers some important information about West Coast politics that we dropped on the post. Make sure y'all pull up this Wednesday 120 and now the super fun in studio episode. I'm telling you, when we get together in studios, we don't miss. You know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all pull up. We talk about Kendrick Lamar potentially harming hip hop with his success. Talk about quite a few things, so make sure y'all pull up for that. We got one more super chat here at the buzzer. Humble Bragger pulling it says Chapo. Walk back your statement. The proof is getting out. So Humble Bragger, you was glazing at the top of the episode, right? About walking something back. Where's this evidence? The problem is, people get so excited to see people quote be wrong. We don't care. If something comes out that 100% concrete supports that the leak is real, we'll come on the pod and say, yo, shout out to the leaker. But if we don't got the information in front of us, we not walking shit back. God bless. Shout out to Dre 7, who was putting on for Kanye in the chat. He fought the good fight. Salute to Dre 7. He's a person that definitely, he's in the chat and he'll push back against things that we say and what we don't say. We love the energy from Dre 7 week in and week out. He's an avid supporter. We love that type of energy. We don't want you to just come here and agree. We just don't take disrespect. That's all. We got a couple of super stickers coming in at the buzzer. Tasha Mack with a $10 holla. Love Tasha Mack. Mike H, home team, with a $10 holla as well. Appreciate y'all at the buzzer. No Deanie the Balance. Deanie the Balance is not here with us. Humble, we engaging. But we don't have information. When we have hard information, we will come back and talk about it, humble bragger. As you can see, we're not even trying to argue with you about it. We don't have the info. So we can't talk about what we don't have. Macito, take us home.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Just like you said, shout out to Dini the Balance, having to handle some home issues today. But he will be on episode 120 coming in a couple days. Tune into that. Shouts to EJ. Came through with a 16, had me rewriting my verse. You know what I'm saying? Hell of a guest appearance by him. Come back ASAP, man. Shouts to Sincere the Rap Snob. You know, follow him on IG and Twitter. Sincere Beats. He makes beats. He's a super producer. Actually, if you didn't hear. Shouts to Jaw. That's the GOAT. That's the point guard. Potter of the year, Potter of the decade, legend in about 3 games, if you want to be honest. You know what I mean? I think he passed Pee Wee. To be honest with you, you know what I mean? And I may see though, you know what I mean? Please don't do anything because I will find out that you did it. We are the Rap Roundtable. Much salute to the chat. Like y'all really what keeps this shit going. You know what I mean? We talk to ourselves all day. Y'all what made this the Rap Roundtable. Make sure y'all like, make sure y'all share, make sure y'all sub, comment if you know if I said something crazy, you know they be flaming me up in the comments. Make sure you do that. But we are the Rap Roundtable and we are out of here.
Yes, sir. We love y'all.